Well, I just finished watching the Sony press conference E3 2012. It is late at night because I'm on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock. 9:30. It's 10:30. So let's just get into it, basically, right? These are kind of my reactions, my thoughts on what I saw, how I felt about it. I don't know. I felt like making it something like that. I had a YouTube channel. I figured, what the hell? Did the Xbox one. Now I'm doing this one. Tomorrow's the Nintendo one. So Sony started off like they always do, kind of like they do every year. Um, they had that intro montage, showed a lot of games, showed some games that didn't even really talk about that much, like Bioshock Infinite. Showed a lot of old games that are out already. I mean, it's what they do. Gets the crowd pumped up. Can't argue with that. Gets it off to a good note, right? Um, and they they kind of they kind of opened up with Jack Trenton comes out. He does a little bit of a monologue, thanks to gamers, blah 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 blah. You know, we get it. Whatever. Uh, but then at least it didn't bore me and it was quick. That's a good thing. Uh, and then they had a new IP to start. It's pretty much one of their only new IPs, but at least it was a new IP. They explained the crap out of it. They showed a trailer at the end, but basically it's Quantum Dream, the guys that made Heavy Rain, also making the next game called Beyond Two Souls. It's not like a sequel or anything. It's just this girl played by Ellen Page. They made that point very clear because we care just so much. Who's the voice behind the model? Yeah, they do facial capture. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care who did it. I don't care if you got Ellen Page to do it. But whatever. They made a huge deal about that. Then they showed the game. She's kind of like this, she sees ghosts or something. It's like, what happens when you die? So she's talking to people that are invisible. She might just be crazy with like telekinesis or something. The game looks really good already, but the polish on like when she mind blasts a cup of coffee into the wall looked really really bad. You can tell that they're gonna need a lot of polish. Like in the coming months, they're gonna announce stuff. They said so. I don't know how long it's gonna be before that game comes out, but at least it was a new IP. They started off with something new, something pretty much no one knew about. Really, it wasn't really leaked, so that was good. And then they switched on to something that's not quite like a brand new announcement, but something that's really cool. PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale. They had playable demo. It's basically gonna be cross-platform, PS3 and Vita. You can play against people if you're on Vita against people on PS3, which is just awesome. Like that is just incredible. Obviously, it was already coming, but it's just good to know that they're putting a big focus on the Vita because they started off with the Vita. If they start off with something, that means it's something really good. Um, Obviously, people are going to complain and say it's like a copy of Smash Bros, which, yeah, it kind of is, but I mean, it's a copy of Smash Bros the same way that Street Fighter is a copy of Tekken or Tekken's a copy of Street Fighter, or they're both a copy of Mortal Kombat or whatever. Fighting genre like that is sort of like the first-person shooter genre. Things are pretty similar. There are a few differences that set it apart. It's just so that in the same way Smash is different from PlayStation All Stars. Basically, you have a different fighting system, like with high kicks and whatever, and the power-up moves are a lot different. You basically have 3 special attacks, so it's more of a fighter, no, not too many special attacks. That you can't be spamming them. You have to build them up. You can build them up 1, 2, or 3 levels. The 3 level ones pretty much kill everyone on screen as soon as you use them. The 2 level ones you gotta fly around and use them. But it looks pretty cool, and I mean, the argument that it's like Smash, who really cares? All fighting games are pretty similar, except for Smash, and now Smash has some competition. That's it. And they also unveiled 2 new characters. It was kind of leaked early, but Nathan Drake, obvious choice, just like a lot of other PlayStation exclusive characters they haven't announced yet, and also the Big Daddy from Bioshock, and that was a surprise to me. It means that it's not all PlayStation exclusive games. Bioshock 1 was originally an Xbox exclusive game that got ported over to PS3, and they're using a character from it. So that means that they could really use a lot of different characters. People on just not Xbox exclusives and not Nintendo exclusives, they're pretty much fair game, is what Sony just said today, which is pretty big. Um, and they also have the cross save feature and whatever. Then they announced something for Little Big Planet that got me a little confused me at first. It's called Cross Controller DLC. So I was like, does that mean that the Vita's just like the Wii U tablet controller? But I don't think it is the way they were explaining it. But it also made me think, what if it could be? you know. So I think that might have been going through their minds a little bit because the same touch technology that's in the tablet is in the Vita. So any game that's on the Wii could also potentially be on the PS3. You would have to have Vita for it too if you wanted it to work the same way, but it could just be an added bonus that's really like a really big incentive for people to get the Vita. So that's big if they can pull that off. Um, and then, just like with the Xbox press conference, things they started to slow down. So my eyes got really big. So they did the obligatory talk about they left out PlayStation Home, which thank God they left that out. They really need to, like, it's there, we get it. Don't shove it in our faces anymore, you know. But they talked about PlayStation Plus being really awesome. They're giving away free games, and the free games they give away aren't just like DLC games. They're like Infamous 2, Little Big Planet 2, and Saints Row 2, or the 3 they announced, but there's like 10 total coming, and they're free if you have PlayStation Plus. Those are still like $50. Well, Infamous 2 and Little Big Planet 2, they're still like $50. So paying for a year of Plus and you get these games free is really cool. It's not, I don't know if it's, I mean, that's kind of E3 worthy. You know, some of the other stuff coming up, not so much, but that's kind of cool. Then they moved on to, you know, what's coming with the PSN to the Vita, which basically a lot of stuff that's on the PS3 is coming to the Vita. PlayStation 1 classics, you know, stuff like that. So Final Fantasy 7, you know, whatever, which is cool, but it's already on the PS3. I don't really know if that was really like E3 necessary. You could have just, you know, had that online, you know, a lot. Just all you gotta do is say a lot of stuff on PS3 is coming to the Vita from PSN, downloadable content. And then they announced a couple of things. Well, first I should say they kept all that talk about the PSN like really short, to the point. They didn't show too much. They didn't get into too much detail. They just, to the point, moved on back to the games, and they focused on the games when they talked about the PSN. That was big. But then they moved on. They moved back to the games. They started talking more about Vita games, which basically they talked about COD, Call of Duty, coming to the Vita. It's not going to be Black Ops 2, but it's going to be along the same vein. It's going to be called Declassified. I'm pretty sure I remember them saying, you know, multiplayer and stuff like that. So it's pretty much the first real Call of Duty experience in a handheld form, which is the point they got across. And, you know, that's cool. It works. So long, you know. If you want to get like another Call of Duty game though, like they start doing one for the Vita and one for all the main consoles a year, that's like 2 Call of Duty games every year, which I don't know if that's their plan, but that could just get out of hand. And then they also announced, you know, Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite. It's probably my very favorite next gen, like, or current gen series of games. And they announced that there's one coming for the Vita, an exclusive one for the Vita, and it's going to be called Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. It's going to have the first female assassin, which is, there were talks that Assassin's Creed 3 was going to be a female assassin, so I guess it was this information leaked out. But it's kind of cool. It's a sort of a tie-in. It goes the same time period, just a female assassin set in the wilderness and everything, using probably the same technology. Then they also announced some bundles, which is I've been waiting to get a Vita for a bundle, like a bundle with a memory card, because they don't come with them. It's going to be the first white Vita, and it's going to come with Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. So it comes out the same day, October 30th. That's Assassin's Creed 3. So that's pretty cool. That's probably the first. That'll probably be like the Vita bundle that sort of really starts selling them. That's kind of what I'm waiting for now. And then they also announced Assassin's Creed 3 stuff. They showed, obviously there was already a Ubisoft press conference. They showed Assassin's Creed 3 there. They showed something totally new though, which was cool. That's what Sony didn't show too many brand new games, but they showed a lot of new stuff for the games that they were showing. So they showed the sailing aspect, which is just blew my mind. It looked so detailed. Sailing the ship looked so like, it just looked fun. It just looked really incredible. The guy's like slamming the wheel, you know, turning to the right, and he's slamming it to the left. The weather's changing. The fiery cannonballs are firing out both sides. You know, you have the things that take down the mast. The two cannonballs like chained together in the middle, taking out masts. You're fighting like 6 ships at once. They're firing back. It just looked crazy. And that just looked, it's pretty much they're bringing pirates to Assassin's Creed 3, which is just freaking awesome. Okay. And then of course they announced the Assassin's Creed 3 bundle for PS3. That's just blah blah stuff. Then they moved on to another Ubisoft game, Far Cry 3. Again, it was at the Ubisoft press conference, but they showed the co-op, which was totally new. I think that's probably like a world premiere because the guy said that they kept it a secret. And I don't think it was leaked that they have now a whole campaign alongside the single player, which is 4-player co-op, and then they also have the multiplayer and the world editor map, which everyone knew, but the co-op just looked really intense. You really need to talk to your friends. You definitely need a mic for that. There's a lot of stuff going on. And the thing about this, the point I want to bring up why this is good for Sony is that because they have this showing for the first time during the Sony press conference, that means that people are going to associate. I mean, I know people are going to understand that it's coming to both consoles, but people are going to associate Far Cry 3's co-op more with Sony than they are with Xbox, because if you watched E3, of course. So that's just totally a positive for Sony. But up to this point, they didn't really have too much stuff that people didn't expect. People knew about Assassin's Creed 3, the tie-in. There was some information about it. The Liberation. They've already said there was going to be a Black Ops on the Vita. The only real new thing was the Quantic Dream game and the 2 new characters for the PlayStation All-Stars. Then they moved on to Move games, and the thing that they really announced for it was Wonder Book, which is like they have this peripheral book, like you just hold up the book to the screen and like shit pops out of you from your TV, like only on the TV. You gotta be looking at the TV, have your hands down on the book. And I was like, you know what, that looks like it could be cool for kids, if you're older than 12, not so much. And then they were like, but they have stuff from J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter shit, what now, bitches? But then I was like, maybe it seems cool. Then they showed it, and I was like, no, that's for kids. No, that's definitely geared toward kids. They only had adults playing it, though, which astounded me. They only had adults playing this game. Definitely meant for kids. Definitely kids games. The way he was talking about it, it's used as like an educational tool. So their one thing that they kept secret, it's kind of not really going to be the biggest selling point for like a Move, at least not for people of my generation. At least, like old, if you're in high school or beyond, the Wonder Book might not be for you. So what I'm saying is basically it looks cool, but it's not really worth all of the extras because you have to buy the book, you have to buy the Move if you don't already have it, and a lot of people do. I'm sure they'll have bundles, but still, it's new writing from J.K. Rowling. But why can't I just look it up online? Like all the little funny stories you get with it will be online. The stuff where you learn spells and stuff, you don't need to go through that just to hear the new writing from J.K. Rowling. Sure, there's description of spells, but again, I can just read it online. I don't need to play the game. So I'm not sure how much that's going to sell for Sony. Then they also announced tie-ins for smartphones now. Sony is going to have Sony certified games on just Android and well, they didn't say iPhone specifically, but they already have one HTC phone is going to come with this like PlayStation Mobile feature where there are going to be PlayStation qualified games on your smartphones, which is pretty big. I mean, Sony will take a little bit of a cut from these games, and they'll sell the games on the smartphone. Like real quality games, not just indie games now. Games with a lot of money behind them is the impression that I got. So, with all of that done, they moved on to their two big showstopper, finalizing stuff. The last 2 games they showed, and they showed a lot of games, which is really good for Sony. They didn't get sidetracked. They didn't talk about too many numbers. Sure, they listed a lot of stuff. They listed a lot of stuff that was going to be on the Vita that they didn't really show. They listed a lot of stuff that's going to be on PSN that they didn't show. But from the list, you kind of get what the direction they're heading. But then they moved on to new God of War. Everyone knew it existed. God of War Ascension. You could already pre-order it. There's posters in GameStop already. But it's going to be multiplayer. That I didn't actually know until the show right now, today. Um, which is cool. You're not gonna play as Kratos, obviously, but you're gonna be playing as like two warriors just going around doing their thing, killing people the same way Kratos does. Probably soldiers that fight under him because I'm pretty sure he's the general, right? I don't. I mean, it's a prequel, so I don't know exactly what position he's in, but it's before he's like covered in ash. I'm pretty sure because he doesn't have the red all over him. I guess I didn't think so. I wasn't paying that much attention because he like, I mean, if it's pretty much the same old God of War that everyone knows and loves, and everyone loves it. So why would they change it? It's pretty much the mentality they go for with Kratos. I'm pretty sure. But now they always add new powers. So now he looks like he has some sort of time reversal, time stopping power, time slowing power. He hit enemies in the air and he blasted them, and they turned green, and they slowly fell instead of just falling. They very slowly fell. So that's gonna be a big aspect of the game. Not really, but he also reversed time. Something that was destroyed, he made it climbable. Got it to the right part where in the middle of its fall, that should be random, but obviously is not because he rewinds it a little bit and it goes to the part where he can perfectly platform. And it looks cool. They have all the cutscenes. It's just as gruesome as ever. He slices off some elephant man's head and brain just falls out. He's fighting like the Kraken or whatever it is. But they also announced the release date, which I know was not announced before. I'm 100% sure it wasn't. It's going to be March 12th, 2013. It might have been leaked, but trust me, that wasn't released. So that's cool that they actually have a set date that will probably get pushed back, but hopefully not. They push back so many games these days. And then, what's the the last game, the last really big game they've been pushing for a while, and that's The Last of Us. Naughty Dog. So obviously, the game looks just gorgeous, like drop dead gorgeous. The ambiance is just redonkulous, like badonkadonk redonkulous. Get out of the park, like all these birds chirping, all the insects. It's really quiet, and then when you hear noises, you know that the shit's about to go down. The shit is officially hit the fan. The guy who you play as, the girl you don't play as, the guy who you play as is some sort of badass that just kills people like it's nothing. You have like no ammo, but you have like supplies. He makes a Molotov cocktail at one point. He sneaks around. He chokes some guy out. Sleeper hold. Like Lou Ferrigno did to the guy in I Love You Man. I can't think of his name now. It was also in How I Met Your Mother. But yeah, just like sleeper hold some guy, and then everyone's onto him. And I gotta tell you, there was a lot of tension in the air. I'm not gonna say it's scary, but there's a lot of tension. Like when someone's there, you're like, don't see me. And then, with a hell of a lot of tension, comes a hell of a lot of cursing. I was getting a headache because I'm watching it on TV, so they're bleeping it, and the bleep lasts a full 15 seconds because he shoots some guy, and the guy apparently all he's doing is cursing. Like there's no words coming out of his mouth besides curses, and it was just, oh my god, this bleeping is just ridiculous. So I'm pretty sure they're going with an M rating here. So that was pretty much everything that happened in the Sony press conference. So they ended with a bang. They started, with their montage, which is kind of a bang, and then the monologue slows down. But at the beginning, they announced some new stuff. Obviously, they didn't announce a console, but after Xbox didn't, after Microsoft didn't, I really did not expect them to announce anything about their next-gen console. So I'm guessing, I guess we gotta wait until sometime during the next E3 before they start unveiling that stuff. So I'm pretty confident you can wait until 2014 for the next console, because they would have announced if it was coming out in 2013, it'd be announced at this E3, at E3 2012 if it's coming out in 2013. So I guess next year we're going to hear about new consoles. They're going to be coming out in 2014. Overall, just like I graded Microsoft, I'd have to give Sony a B, not quite a B plus. Sort of closer to a B minus than a B, just because they showed new sides of games we already knew. It was at least kind of new. It wasn't something totally new. There was nothing like Final Fantasy Versus 13 or 13 Versus. There was nothing from The Last Guardian that they showed like 2 E3s ago that still hasn't come out yet. No details about. The guy just said be patient. So really, the only thing that people didn't know about was Wonderbook and the new IP from Quantic Dream, exactly what it was. Everyone knew they were working on something, though. And there weren't too many. The guy talked about it, like, just so much, like 10 minutes of talking about it, and then finally he reveals that it's Ellen Page, that no one cares who the actress is, you know. And then they finally show a trailer, and then like an in-game sort of trailer, and then they showed like a real trailer that's also in-game, but it's not like actual gameplay. So yeah, I would go with a B. They didn't like, there was nothing where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe they had this secret. The big secret was Wonder Books. So if the big secret is something that you have an 8-year-old kid in the commercial for, which they do, then it's not going to be like a show-stopping secret. So I guess in this generation, where people are pre-ordering things like 8 months in advance, there's not too much you can just announce at E3. There's nothing that you can really like announce years in advance now, I guess, is sort of what people are thinking. But I still, at E3, it should be the time when everyone hears about the lineup for like the next 12 months. And there's got to be games that are unannounced that are going to be coming out within the next 12 months. There was a lot of, like, if they announced new stuff, because they definitely have stuff to announce. If they just announced new stuff, then they would have potentially gotten an A. They put on a better show, even without the celebrities that Xbox used. They put on a better show, better paced, better everything. So I'm giving them pretty much just a letter grade higher. Just they have so far. There was nothing. They had new stuff from Assassin's Creed, and new stuff from Far Cry, and new stuff from God of War. But all these things we already knew about. You got to use E3. All this is my opinions. You got to use E3 for announcing the new big things that are coming, like new big AAA games that are gonna sell, games that you're passionate about, games that you've been working on, games that are still being worked on, even just a trailer for like something new to give us something to look forward to. But they stuck with the games that we already knew about, and they gave us more information, but still, there's nothing really like showstopper level, so I'm giving it a B. And just like I said, this is all my opinions. Feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. I would love to hear other people's takes on, maybe the Big Daddy. Who else would be in it? Someone from a multi-platform game that's just not an exclusive. So yeah, my name is Dragon Rider Jack, and those have been my thoughts.